Day 1, we made it. After days, weeks, and years of anticipation, the plane has touched down and the kids have their feet on hallowed ground. Anything can happen now, and our only goal is that we don't return home the same. Day 2 drifts off into the evening darkness as the charcoal and diamond of Costa Rican skies casts a loving blanket over the class of 2012. Today was a day of jubilation, of togetherness, and of exploration. There is something particularly bright about these kids, evident in the questions they ask, the discussions they have, and in the way they reflect upon themselves and this new world around them. As well, one of the best things about working with middle schoolers is the way they tread such a line between maturity and childlike playfulness. Today brought out the best of both sides. At our visit to longtime Meadowbrook friend and Costa Rican Willy Wonka, Don Juan, and his organic farm, the class learned and they ate, fiery peppers lighting up faces and watering eyes in what has become a popular rite of passage and an acceptance of their first challenge, along with the sweets and sours and greens that make this place so engaging. Feed the body and the soul follows. Evening brought time to wander La Fortuna, the small town at the base of the Arenal volcano, a traditional dinner, and our first nightly circle. Every evening, the class will meet to share stories, thoughts, and emotions, and to conclude the day in the manner that defines our experience. All together, far from home, but closer to each other. We'll talk soon. A thrill, topped with an adventure, wrapped in a daydream, and sitting atop an ice cream cone drenched in sunshine. Day 3 was the day many of the 8th graders had been dreaming about since they were small. For some, the allure of the zipline has consumed their Costa Rica dreams for the better part of a decade. The giddiness that accompanies such anticipation, anxiousness, excitement, and fear was bursting forth from the group today as we rode the tram to the top of the earth, each armed only with a harness and a small metal wheel for the long, high-speed traverse down. The laughter, cheers, and screams that echoed down the canyon and through the rainforest canopy was the true soundtrack of the day, as this joyride through the jungle never disappoints. Following lunch, we hiked through the dense sugar cane to the lava flow at the base of the Arenal volcano and spent some time in an iconic Meadowbrook spot, hearing first-person stories passed along through our guides about the volcano's gigantic 1968 eruption as we sat directly beneath it. In what has become another unique tradition, we also poked a few holes in a trailside termite nest, and everyone took the opportunity to taste a few live insects. I heard this year's batch called everything from minty to herbal to sweet to completely disgusting. Late afternoon gave way to ice cream cones and time to enjoy them in the town square, dinner on a local family farm, and our evening circle full of thoughtful reflections, shared experience, comedic performances, and new aspirations. The town we are staying in tonight is named La Fortuna because while the volcano looms with omniscience, this place was considered fortunate ground since all of the recent lethal eruptions sent their fire to the opposite side of the mountain. Surely, one sentiment expressed in our circle tonight was that of how fortunate we all are to be here and to have each other. Whatever tomorrow brings, we are most surely in it together. Good evening from the end of a joyous day 4. Today began with a hike down steep jungle trails to the bottom of La Catarata Fortuna, a giant waterfall deep in the rainforest. The awesome rush of water and waves feeds a series of rapids and deep pools as the river continues beneath the falls, and we spent midday splashing around in the water and lounging like lizards on the sun-soaked rocks. After hiking back out, we traveled around Lake Arenal to the world-renowned ecotourism resort called Rancho Margo. Rancho Margo, created by the visionary ecologist Juan Sostheim, is a farm campus that is focused on generating a fully sustainable, carbon-negative lifestyle and educating groups on their process through participation in all farm activities. This afternoon, we all moved into the Rancho Margo bunkhouse, a minute version of a dormitory where the whole class gets to live together in a very communal setting. After lunch, we hiked up a narrow mountain pass that gave way to the sunny scenery of the lake and the continued looming presence of the Arenal volcano, and spent some time swimming in a geothermally heated pool and pond. After dinner, we had a chance to sit with Juan Sostheim, who shared his story, the details of his ranch, and his hope for the future. Our class circle ended the day as always, thoughts and emotions pouring out from all sides as we share, reflect, remember, and appreciate our way to bedtime. Tucked into close quarters and resting up for 6 a.m. farming duties tomorrow, we've settled into our next great opportunity, with many more still to come. Looking forward to sharing them all with you. Day 5 was beautiful in every way. We began with the 6 a.m. shift in the dairy, milking cows and feeding a baby sheep who had been orphaned at birth. After breakfast, the class split up into small groups and toured the farm with several of the volunteers who work here, learning about the crops and vegetation and cuddling baby chicks and piglets along the way. Afterwards, we worked in the field for a few hours, planting and harvesting a variety of crops. Lunchtime has a new meaning when you have to spend hours bent over in the hot sun to plant and pick the vegetables yourself, and it's almost possible to feel the subtle growth in student understanding of this crucial relationship between agricultural practices and the food we eat. The afternoon brought some quiet time, several yoga classes taught in a beautiful outdoor studio, and then an opportunity to choose between making guacamole with our guide Adrian, swimming in the rapids of a nearby river, or playing soccer in a match against all of the staff at Rancho Margo, who came down out of a day in the fields to show off just how strong the Costa Rican soccer culture is. Dinner was a glowing affair. Mealtimes have begun to sound the way coffee shops did before the advent of Wi-Fi, alive with the joys of food and conversation, and so casual that we often sit together for over an hour afterwards, telling stories from the day and joking with each other. Our closing circle included conversations in small groups about what we've learned from our stay here at Rancho Margo and how these experiences can inform our lives going forward, especially after we return home. Tomorrow will mark the halfway point of the trip, an adventure that is going both blissfully slow and simply way too fast. For certain, we are cherishing every drop. Day 6 was a bit of a drive as we rolled down from the mountains, past the Central Valley, and to the southern tip of the Caribbean coast. The 7-hour travel day included some wonderful stops, the first of which was a mid-morning visit to a combination ice cream shop iguana farm, likely the only of its kind. Next, we stopped at a tiny government-subsidized 2-room home where a few students provided some groceries to a single mother and her 5 children who had recently relocated from Nicaragua. After lunch, we visited our first transitional home in Guapales, which housed about 20 kids aged 2 to 17. Most of the kids on both sides were eager for a soccer game, while some of the others spent their time together playing games and music. Caring for younger children is always a place where Meadowbrook groups shine, and we are so proud of the energy and care they brought to this effort. Tonight we pulled into our oceanside hotel in Puerto Viejo, weary from the road but bolstered by the joy of the trip and excitement for all that is left to come. And there is so much more to come. Day 7 sometimes feels to me like the final exam for a Meadowbrook education, and as you will see, this class passed with flying colors. Everything we hope our young people will become was on full display throughout this day, as we spent the entire day at a shelter in Limon for children removed from their homes by social services. The property includes several residential houses full of kids ranging from 10 days old to 17. As well, there is a learning center that has been refurbished, remodeled, organized, supplied, and decorated by literally hundreds of Meadowbrook hands over the years. The learning center was created and funded by a member of the Meadowbrook class of 2012 through Amigas por Siempre, a nonprofit organization she started following her own 8th grade experience that she continues to run from her college dorm. Our kids were incredible today. They showed off so many skills: art, woodworking, science, technical, empathic, as we constructed and planted a series of raised garden beds, painted walls, designed giant murals, virus-proofed computers, and most importantly, we doted on the children of Costa Rica who needed us most. Our paths crossed on account of our good fortune to travel together as a class and the personal tragedies that finds kids in a place like this, yet the exchange of love and enthusiasm was mutual and equal. Watching the 8th graders we've known as children themselves now cradling babies, steadily guiding wobbly-kneed toddlers on walks, playing games with children, teaching sports and music and mentoring teens. It's as if I never really noticed until this instant that our own little ones grew up, in what suddenly seems like the blink of an eye. With every wipe of a teardrop and tussle of hair, every eruption of laughter and hug and push on a swing, every gesture was the culmination of the love and care and education they've received up until this point, and it's become a platform for unparalleled sharing of their warm and earnest hearts. The playfulness of this class has been its strength, and the joy they authentically share together just threw its arms open, wide enough to embrace the world. All I could think as I watched today's scene was, wow, their parents would be so proud. So proud. If our adventure was the flight of a boomerang, Day 8 would be the apex of our path. In many ways, we are the furthest we will be from home, but we are in such good company, it doesn't always feel so far away. The morning found us at a remote indigenous school on the Bribri reservation called Meadowbrook, perched in the exact spot where the end of the road meets the expanse of jungle. Meadowbrook has held a long-standing partnership with Malaric, including a 2012 trip sponsored by the Meadowbrook Leadership Institute to install solar power and lights in the school buildings, and every year we work alongside volunteers from the community to refurbish and remodel different aspects of the campus. Our goals for the day were ambitious, but with a workforce of over 60, we rebuilt walls for their traditional schoolhouse and shoveled, moved, and mixed sand, rocks, gravel, water, and concrete to redo the floor. Using practice and expertise from the prior day's project, we built 2 more raised and covered garden beds and planted rows of baby vegetable plants in them. Borrowing from the Midwestern American tradition of hanging colorfully painted geometric murals on barns, we also finished designing and painting 2 of these barn quilts for the outside of the schoolhouses. Additionally, we made time to create colorful and protective covers for student desktops, picked up trash around the grounds, and played games and tag with the Malaric school students. The remainder of the evening and overnight was spent in a large Bribri lodge called Itsowo-u, which is half suspended in trees and built as a place for the Bribri to share their culture with visitors. After dinner, we met with Denilo, the local tribal leader who created Itsowo, who shared stories from his life and about his culture, taught us some of his native language, and we participated in a traditional Bribri dance. The highlight of our evening circle was the part where members of the class give shout-outs to those who are particularly giving of themselves throughout the long, challenging day of physical labor under the hot Caribbean sun. The incredible effort Meadowbrook kids gave today was evident in everything they did, transforming several aspects of the school with nothing but sweat, dirt, and each other. There was no quit in this group, only dedication to an ideal, a sense of purpose, and the expectation and insistence upon its success. The glow of proud accomplishment hovers mightily above us tonight as our wonderful trip rounds the corner and heads for the home stretch. Day 9 was also our 9th straight day of warmth, light, and steady Costa Rican sun. We woke up at dawn to the nonstop cacophony of roosters and other feathered early risers in our tree fort home and took a short walk along the main road through the Bribri village. After breakfast, we drove out of the reservation to meet up with our new friends from the shelter in Limon at a local swimming pool. We spent the morning splashing around, a full celebration of the children's joy and another opportunity to share our best selves with them. It was so great to watch the class of 2017 shepherd these little ones around the pool this morning. The love and trust they have earned in a short time is impressive and beautiful. No child went unattended as our kids carried, swam, caught, held, mentored, fed, taught, reassured, and played their way through several hours of responsibility and fun. Later in the day, we brought the children from Limon for a visit to the Jaguar Rescue Center, which was one of the first wildlife sanctuaries in Costa Rica set up to care for wild animals that had been injured in the wild or rescued from being kept illegally as pets. Kids of all ages marveled at the baby sloths and monkeys, wild birds and reptiles, snakes, and the occasional anteater. Over final goodbyes from our little buddies, it was obvious what a huge impact the Meadowbrook kids made in what seemed like far too short a time. The evening brought about a chance to meander through Puerto Viejo, picking out food and souvenirs from the many local vendors lining a long section of beach in the center of town. Today was the kind of day that will stay with us forever. It marked the discovery and recognition of a new kind of love, of new capabilities, and what it feels like to make the world a warmer and more cheerful place. Day 10 was the final act in our beautiful story. It began with the traditional solo activity, where students spread out across a remote beach for 3 hours of individual reflection on their past, present, and future. After such an intense and incredible week of new experiences whilst living communally in tight quarters, the opportunity for some solitude to journal, rest, play in the sand, or stare off into the waves into the horizon is always a welcome breath of quiet and change of pace. Time for reflection is elusive at the pace of our culture, and slowing down to think about the themes of the trip and what it means to each 8th grader is a blessing. And every year when we tell the class that their 3 hours are up, it's met with surprise that it flew by so quickly. Recharged and excited to be together again, we spent the afternoon playing in the beach and splashing about in the Caribbean Ocean. The bus ride was nothing short of celebratory. We feasted on all the cookies and chips Costa Rica has to offer, sang songs, laughed, and cheered for all of our accomplishments. After our last dinner together, in a wooden lodge in the mountain town of Turrialba, the evening circle included some fun games, a few final conversations to process all we have seen, our traditional moonfrog ceremony, where students award each other necklaces for their contributions to the trip, and finally, with all of the rough edges smoothed off, time to simply appreciate each other. We are coming home, and we will be sad to leave, yet are excited to return. This adventure has shown us so much of the world, of ourselves, of each other, and has left us joyful, weary, alive, sandy, salty, energized, exhausted, and grateful. Tomorrow your kids will be back in your arms, and they can't wait to see you. I imagine that once you look again into their wide and hopeful eyes, you'll see hints and sparkles of all they have become right here before us. See you soon.